Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Just Talking About Sports. I'm Matthew.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Drew.
And Ethan, what are we going to be doing today, sir?
Just talking about sports, baby.
Yes, sir. It is our AFC Wildcard weekend, and we cannot be more excited to bring it to you. We got 3 games in the AFC, 3 in the NFC. This is part 1. We will be discussing the AFC. We got 1 game on Saturday, so let's just jump right into it. We got the Bills, who will be hosting the Colts. The Bills, for the first time this season, will have fans, just around 6,700 approximately. And Drew, I'll hand you the floor. Does Indy take this one, or does Buffalo keep it going at home?
Buffalo's going to keep it rolling at home. See, Buffalo simply is the hottest team right now. I mean, Ethan, I'm sorry, but you saw what they did to your Dolphins last week. You know, everybody had problems with the Dolphins defense. Buffalo put up 56 points. And it, in my opinion, Josh Allen is playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, if not the best. Stephon Diggs is absolutely rolling. You know, he leads the league in catches, yards, one of the best wide. Obviously, the addition of the season for the Bills. And like even if Stephon Diggs doesn't play, I don't think it matters. Buffalo will be rolling over the Colts at home.
Ethan, you're up.
I think that I'll be a little bit more of a bolder take. As you probably heard, I do have a grudge now against the Bills, as I didn't really have one before, but when you put up 56 on a team that I was really hoping to make the playoffs this year, and of course we didn't after having 4 views, the Bills kind of embarrassed us. Matt Barkley was even throwing touchdowns like it's no tomorrow on us. So this Bills offense is definitely something like that is not worth messing with. But my issue always is the Bills are never good in the playoffs. And anytime you give them some sort of hope and some sort of expectations, they find a way to ruin them. They saw that when they had 4 straight Super Bowls, didn't win a single one of them. We saw that last year in the playoffs when Josh Allen and them were supposed to go far and choked against Deshaun Watson. So their expectations are getting super high again. I'm worried about this Bills team, even though they're putting so much statistically. I think this could be a sneaky upset for the Colts. I mean, Colts are, despite being not so great, they have one of the top 10 like best offenses in yards per game. And you have Jonathan Taylor, the rookie sensation, ran for 1,000 yards or 1,169 yards in his first season. That offensive line is very, very good for the Colts, and I think that they'll be able to basically go ham on this Bills defense, and they'll be able to stop it. It's just a matter of basically the Bills offense versus the Bills defense, or the Colts defense. And I think the Colts are a little sneaky pick, despite them being a little overrated. I think the Colts defense could be able to hold their own against this Bills offense. And surprisingly, I'll say I have the Colts just because I want to be bold.
Oh, good Lord. Okay. Well, I'm just going to make it very clear. The best team in the AFC right now is definitely Kansas City. But it's closer than it was in the beginning of the season because Buffalo is coming for their ass. And I think that Buffalo has a statement to prove. Their defense heading into this season was advertised as one of the best. So they started the season really, really poorly, but they've been able to pick it up. And the Colts offense is not very good. We all know it. You know it. Drew knows it. We all know it. That defense is incredibly solid. And this is where my concern is, especially considering Diggs has not practiced yet this week. Something to keep an eye out for as we head on to Saturday, because they play on Saturday and it's Wednesday, still hasn't practiced. That's something that has to be in the back of their minds. But Buffalo needs to stick with that core. If Diggs can't play, get the ball to Beasley. Run the ball more with Singletary and Moss. This team knows, after all this time this season, they know how to play without Diggs. There were a couple of games where Diggs has not been a big part of their offense. Even if Diggs can't play, Buffalo finds a way to win this game because of how strong their offense has been balanced across the season, and their defense has been able to pick it up here towards the end of this season. Tre'Davious White on the corner has just been so dominant. With that, we will head to our second game. Sunday, I believe it's noon. Correct me if I'm wrong. We've got the Titans and the Ravens in Tennessee, not Baltimore. And Drew, what you got?
All right. I think I'm going to make this very clear. I have the Ravens winning for a couple reasons. First off, just like the Bills, the Ravens are entering the playoffs red hot. And, you know, Baltimore is able to win in a multitude of ways. And, you know, with that rushing attack, I mean, you have 3 guys rushing for over 700 yards, Lamar Jackson over 1,000. That they're the leading rushing team in the NFL. And I just think that in a shootout like this may be, yes, Tennessee's offense is explosive, but on the flip side, Tennessee can't stop anybody. And that's going to be really key in this game. Tennessee's defense needs to step up and be that stalwart and stop Lamar Jackson, that the offense needs them to be. And I don't think that Tennessee's defense can be that. So if this game does turn into a shootout, I'm more confident in Baltimore's defense, which I believe is one of the more slept on defenses in the NFL. They're second in allowed in least points per game, better than all except the Rams. So I believe in a shootout. I believe more in the Ravens' ability to stop the Titans than the Titans' ability to stop the Ravens. So I have the Ravens advancing to this one.
Oh, this is going to be the 2019 revenge game for the Ravens, in my opinion. Last time these two went up against each other, it was the second round of the playoffs after the Titans knocked off the Patriots. And the Titans surprised everybody and beat the Ravens that everyone thought, the Ravens were going to make it to the Super Bowl that year. Oh, no, the Ravens got embarrassed single-handedly by Derrick Henry. But I think this year is going to be a little bit different because the Ravens have now a little chip on their shoulder after what happened last year. It's going to be a very entertaining game because it's going to be the best rushing offenses in the league. Derrick Henry versus Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins. Literally, on paper, literally the two best offenses in the league. But my issue has been, like you said, Drew, the Titans defense ranked 19th in rushing defense, which means the Ravens should be able to have no issues running all over them. But because it's the Titans, they rely solely on their turnovers to stay in games. They do have the best turnover ratio in the league with plus 11, but the rest of their yards per game has not looked very, very well. And despite Henry rushing for 2,000 yards, which is the eighth running back to ever do so in the NFL history, I feel like the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, since he had quote unquote cramps, he's been on fire since, and I feel like the Ravens are going to continue on in this one in their revenge game.
Not think I would be alone in this pick, but you guys bring up very valid points. The Ravens defense knows how to stifle opponents, and the Titans defense has been anything but stifling all season long. However, when it comes down to it, the paper matchup favors Baltimore. But when you're at home in a playoff game with fans, which, by the way, Tennessee has, let's not forget this, and Derrick Henry's ability to take over games at any point, the Titans have the advantage in that respect because Derrick Henry will unleash. I don't care how good any defense is. No defense has really been able to stop him unless they're losing big early, like the Packers were. They were losing big early to the Packers. And I know that gives you a smile. But at the end of the day, when the Titans are in a game, they go to who else but Derrick Henry. And even if they're trailing, which I believe is a strong possibility out of the gates, you have one of the best deep threat receivers in the NFL. I'm not saying best receivers. I'm saying best deep threat receivers. A.J. Brown is the only receiver this season with more than 5 50-plus yard catches. That is a powerful, powerful weapon. And something that a team like the Ravens, which, by the way, ranked 32nd in passing offense this season, don't have. So the Titans are at a huge advantage because even when it comes down to passing situations, they hold that front. And yes, the Ravens' balanced attack is better in running. But when it comes down to one guy, we know who that one guy is. It is Derrick Henry. Plus, they're at home. I'm taking the Titans. And now, as we transition into our final game in the AFC, this one to me would have been the game of the week had it not been for all the COVID issues in Cleveland. Because, of course, 18 years and you still can't catch a break. So Cleveland heads to Pittsburgh, who is now fully healthy and brings back their entire cavalry of offense against Cleveland, who is losing a lot of their players and coaching staff to COVID protocols. Drew, what are your thoughts?
See, earlier in the week, I made the prediction that Pittsburgh was going to beat Cleveland, in this wild card game. The fact that Cleveland is having issues with COVID, Kevin Stefanski is out for this game. that only strengthens my belief that Pittsburgh will go in and beat the Browns. And I look to last week's game as this is a rematch of Week 17. Cleveland had the game in hand, but then almost browned it and blew it to Pittsburgh's backups. And that game was in Cleveland at home. And given that the game was so close, in a game where Roethlisberger, Pouncey, TJ Watt all sat, now it's the same teams, but you go to Pittsburgh. Cleveland is on the road, and Pittsburgh has all their stars back, like you said. I really don't see a way that Cleveland can win, given the circumstances. And this is a long-awaited playoff appearance for Browns fans, but it just sucks that they can't catch a break even after 18 years. And I think the buck stops here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I mean, everyone like has to just feel bad for the Browns. I mean, congrats, you guys made the playoffs, but now you have to go against the big bad Steelers, which, as much as people wrote them off after they went on a 3-game losing streak, they're still a pretty good team. Their defense, despite those 3-game losing streak, their defense still ranks 3rd best in total yards, like the least allowed or yards allowed per game, least amount of or 3rd least amount of points allowed per game in the entire league, 3rd least amount of passing yards per game in the league. So this defense is an absolute shutdown and a half. And with players like potential defensive player of the year, TJ Watt, and plenty of other assets in the Steelers defense, including Mike Tomlin's very, very well run defense, I feel like the Steelers are going to be just a little too much for Cleveland. I mean, with Stefanski being like the sole reason, like he's also a coach of the year candidate too, but with him missing, that means Baker Mayfield, like the connection between two of them is going to be missing, which I think has been a big part of why Baker Mayfield has had success this season. And I believe that Mayfield's going to have a little bit of trouble against the Steelers team, especially now that all their starters are going to be back. And like you said, too, with last week's game against each other where they almost choked against Mason Rudolph, of all people, I think that this Steelers team, it's going to be a little too much for them. Sucks that the Browns are having to go out like this after 18 years of missing it. But I feel like the Browns are on the up and they could have a chance to make it. But since it's in Pittsburgh and since the Steelers defense is still alive and well, I feel like Pittsburgh should easily have this one.
When we talk this season about Defensive Player of the Year, there's one guy who comes to your mind, TJ Watt. The man has been a walking machine. Leads the league in sacks, leads the league in quarterback pressures, leads the league in quarterback hits. And if that isn't your DPOI, then it's Xavier Howard. But because obviously Ethan wants to entertain the fact that his Dolphins corner is going to win DPOI. But I digress. The Steelers didn't even have everybody at full arsenal. Their only main defense player that they decided to keep in that game on Week 17 was Cameron Hayward. You add to that what you have already in Stephon Tuitt, TJ Watt. You've got that offensive line, which to me is fully stacked of talent. Marquise Pouncey, David DeCastro. You can just run right through that lane, which for some reason they decided they don't want to do because they don't know how to run the football. Big Ben leads the league in passing attempts in the past 4 weeks, and there's there's a clear reason as to why. And you look at the Steelers. They have weaknesses. They've lost 4 of their last 5. You talk about the Bills and the Ravens coming in red hot. Steelers come in ice cold. They get lucky because if the Browns team was fully healthy, they had the coaching staff fully healthy, they lose this game. However, the Browns are coming in limping and coughing, literally and figuratively. And the Steelers not only win this game, they crush them. And it's unfortunate because the Browns really should win this game, and if fully healthy, they would. But the Steelers are going to get their second chance that they shouldn't have, or third or fourth or fifth chance because we've given them way too many. As usual, start dancing on logos again, and then they'll lose in the second round, but that's not the point of this video, so we're not going to talk about it. But there you have it. No disagreements in that last game. We got a couple of varying opinions, one that's highly questionable. You know who I'm talking about. But it's been a great video. Part 1, the AFC is complete. But stay around because we got part 2 of the NFC coming right back up. But until then, we'll be here just talking about sports. Have a great day.